Hello everybody, this is Sir Tomiki or Sire Tomiki or whatever you call it, then because we're in Sanctus Reach. This is the second part 2 video of the Sanctus Reach the Red Waaagh law summary video. And yep, I'm back. Tomiki House Yato. Well, we weren't exactly involved in Sanctus Reach and the defense of Alaric Prime, but you know, I'm still an Imperial Knight pilot. I'm still I guess Knight historian. So yeah, anyway, as usual, if you prefer reading rather than listening to my voice, you can check out my blog. The link is there right in the video. Again, this is part 2 of Sanctus Reach the Red Waaagh. So yeah, now to start with, I'm gonna welcome you guys to part 2 of Sanctus Reach the Red Waaagh video where we finish up the lore summary for this particular campaign. I say finish, but apparently there's a sequel named Hour of the Wolf as well as an extra story in the Stormclaw box set, but we'll get to those one day. For now, let's focus on the heroics of the Imperial Guard and the Imperial Knights. We pick out where Morgrok activated his teleport blaster at the end of the last video, so basically teleported away from the Auspice Savannah and towards the coastlands to deny the human forces reinforcements across the natural bridges that link Alaric Prime's major islands. The Knights of House Velamastrian trekked across the Knights Causeway, which linked the island to Sacred Isles, so that they could reinforce House Brahmika and the Cadians embroiled in the battle on the Savannah. Uh, Morgoth anticipating. Bleh, I can't speak today, I don't know why. Morgoth anticipating this had assigned Gretchen to blow up the Knight's Causeway, but they had yet to finish their job. So after throwing a murderous tantrum where Morgoth basically killed one of the run herds by kicking him off into, I guess, the canyon below, that hurts, yeah. Morgoth sought out Mac Dargok, the mech who flung the orbital defense platforms into each other with his shock amplifier when the Red Waaagh assaulted the Obsidian Glaive Space Marines. Apparently, the shock amplifier was a one-use thing only that blew up right after he did that, so that's why you don't see it being used on Alaric Prime. Anyway, Dargok, along with the aid of his run herd Grabber, was also responsible for the Snotlin Rain. Whatever the Snotlin Rain is, I have no idea because they didn't actually explain that. Dalgok and the Grabber, after Morgrok yelled at the former, gathered the snorkeling mobs just as the first of the Imperial Knights had reached halfway across the Knight's Causeway. They opened fire on the Orcs, who were forced to cover. Unfortunately, Dalgok had a secret weapon that could teleport one of the Knight's legs away, causing it to fall and miss with his battle cannon. And then he teleported the flames of the Burner Boys right into the thrown mechanical on the Knight, incinerating Sire Thomas and causing his Knight to fall to his knees upright and block the causeway. Oh well. At Owl Kamata, Mogrok's Blood Axe ally tank boss Batfrag led an attack with 200 heavy York tanks. He had repurposed Imperial armor. No, not that series from Forgeville. Oh man, that's nostalgic now that I think about it. The Imperial armor series have been a long-running series since I think the 2000s. They kind of phase it out now because everything is indexed, and yeah, at least we have Imperial armor datasheets for free. So thank you Games Workshop for that at least. Anyway, back to Batfrag. He landed his rush ship the Chopper on top of an Imperial tank company in the Kamata Desert, then destroyed the survivors with his cannons. That's how he managed to get all these Imperial tanks and repurpose them into looted wagons and battle wagons. So yeah. Though Owl Kamata's nightly defenders were away at war at Sacred Isle, Batfrag's armored company was outranged by the Imperial Guard artillery company stationed around the Great Oasis. Even his Blood Axe air support, the drop commandos, had lost too many of their fighter bombers to anti-aircraft fire. The Cadians had water, shade, and ammunition supply lines, so they were well dug in. Unfortunately for the Cadians, a mob of drop commandos intercepted a Chimera convoy, with two of them clinging to the undersides of the armored transports at the cost of the rest of the commandos because they got blown apart by the multi-lasers. They were eventually shaken free, with one being run over by the next tank while the sole survivor escaped and returned to Batfrag's camp. So this is where they started scheming. This time, the Blood Axe commandos camouflaged themselves and waited for the next convoy to the Great Oasis, once again strapping themselves to the undersides of the Chimeras. The Cadian guards, unaware of the stowaways, allowed the supply convoy in, and the commandos used this to infiltrate the Imperial Guard base. And this is what you can see here, though that's a Hellhound tank and not a Chimera. There's a random passage regarding the Frozen Comet. I don't know why they decided to insert it here, but yeah, I mean, you could have inserted it anywhere else, but why do you put it right in the middle of Orc Commando infiltration? Anyway, uh, it explained that the Frozen Comet is something that drifted close to Alaric Prime. Uh, we can guess why they brought it up here, and even if I somehow didn't know what's going to happen later, if I was reading this for the first time, which I was like 10 years ago, I'll be willing to bet my bottom dollar that the Orcs will snag the Frozen Comet and hurl it at the Imperial defenders, because there's no other reason why they'll randomly bring up the Frozen Comet. Anyway, after getting inside the Imperial Guard camp, the commandos snuck out from under the Chimeras at night and began planting bombs to blow up the artillery company's ammunition. Yikes. The resulting explosion was the signal for Tank Boss Bad Factor attack, and his battle fortress and 200 looted vehicles charged in. The airborne forces of the drop commandos joined in, and despite the Hydra flag tanks and Aegis interceptor guns of the Cadians ripping quite a toll of them and destroying a lot of Orky craft and Deathcopters, the Cadians basically ran out of ammunition shortly after that, thanks to the destruction of so much of their supplies by the commandos, and the Orcs annihilated the 1645th Cadian Support Regiment. Ouch. Yeah, I hate it when Cadian regiments get annihilated, because, especially what happened after the fall of Cadia. Unfortunately, this meant that the Orcs had access to more looted tanks, they captured transports, and even stolen knights that now roam over Al Kamata. Boy. Anyway, this is Mogrok's mech mob. You can see a lot of mega knobs and looted battle wagons and trucks there. Pretty cool, actually, now that I think about it. Oh yeah, and don't forget the Death Druids and the Killer Clans. He likes walkers, yeah. Due to the warlords of human vehicles and tanks were wrecked and totaled, which gave the Orcs ample scrap to hammer out new contraptions, recycling the hulls of armor into more guns and metal beasts. The whale stealers in particular built all sorts of trucks, such as truck treaders, wagon walkers, and bigger cans. Yeah, I mean orcs, However, amidst all of this orcish innovation, Mogrok was working on his own invention that could destroy an entire island in one blow. Uh-oh. The Cadian 1652nd Regiment bore the brunt of the Orcs' wrath, but millions lost their lives on Alaric Prime, including Gorolan Helsmas of House Castrian, Carrera Calestros, Fine Digalio, and Rolandus Velemestrian. So these are like all the honored names and whatever. There's also a long list of Cadian dead, which I probably will not bother reading here because I don't think anyone's going to remember them anyway. The Freeblade, known as the Scorched Knight, is piloted by Dairos Kamata. After learning of his older brother's murder at the hands of his father, he became a Freeblade. We discussed this in the last video, so you probably already know this. What's new is that apparently he scorched away the symbols of House Kamata in the Damatoy volcano range, only to return to defend Sacred Mountain from the Red Waaagh. Instead of fighting alongside other nobles, Dairos struck against rearward units of artillery, accounting for hundreds of greenskin kills and disrupting their forces around the mountain, frequently saving Cadian guardsmen in the process. So he's like this, I guess, symbol of fortune. Dairos' brother Tyrus had left a neural imprint in the throne mechanicum that informed him of the deadly malfunction his father had engineered and the corruption in House Kamata and Hiram's long list of crimes. So Dairos was eventually able to get revenge during the last battle for Sacred Mountain. When Hiram's knight was toppled by a crashing Daka jet, Dairos hastened to his fallen father's side and blew his knight up with his thermal cannon. Although dozens of other nobles had witnessed Dairos' patricide, no one barred his way because they respected the right of every noble to settle debts within his own house. Next, Silas Ovid. Do you remember him? He's back! With more background fluff. Rumored to be a bastard son of a noble family who was exiled back in Cadia, he shot dead a pack of slobbering cultists attacking a local settlement because apparently Cadia is full of cultists because it's of its close proximity to the Eye of Terror. And he was recruited into the Imperial Guard Officer Corps. He was known for being patient and composed, which the senior officers thought made him perfectly suited to the tank regiments. Though he is a master of all variants of the Leman Ras, including my favorite executioner variant, Silas Orvik personally prefers to command from the cupola of a Vanquisher, where he can destroy war engines from afar. One shot, one kill. Just like an assassin, eh? Silas Orvik's squadron famously stalked the demon engines that infested Prosan during the Beliger invasions of 988 Millennium 41. His pinpoint accuracy picking apart Warpsmith Wuto's monstrous creations one by one and task saving the planet. Orvik also assumed command during the Orc incursion of Crescent Whale after a suicidal air strike took out the Acadian HQ command. He led 2 squadrons of tanks against 3 Stompas. Man, that's actually impressive. Outwitting and frustrating his foes long enough for further support to arrive and destroy them outright, either Titans or more Knights. Pretty cool. With such achievements, Orvik was promoted to the legendary Steel Horse of the Acadian 1652nd, and as his commander, he has repeatedly led Cadia's armies to victory from winning his Leman Russ Vanquisher, Orvik's Feast. He actually named his tank after himself. That's uh that's both kind of egoistic and badass. Next is Tempester Prime Salem Whitlock, who commands the 50th Carpic Eagles. So that's the, if you're thinking Cadians as being the poster boys for Astra Militarum, the Carpic Eagles are the poster boys for the Militarum Tempesters. That's why you always see them in that signature blue color. Anyway, back to Salem Whitlock. He was orphaned at the age of 2 and raised in the Scholar Progenium on the Shrine Bowl of Frel. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Though his natural leadership marked him out as officer material, instead of joining the commissariat, he excelled as a Tempestus Scion, cadet, displaying an acumen for, sorry, is it acumen? I think acumen, right? For tactics and tasks was assigned to Militarum Tempestus Command. As Tempester, basically Sergeant, Whitlock led the drop assault that ended the decade-long siege of Fortress Hellstar. Yeah, that name is really on the nose. His squad basically gunned down every counters inside within 80 minutes. That's supposed to make him sound impressive, apparently, because decade long, and then he just finished everything in 80 minutes. Wonder why they didn't just assign him before that. After being promoted to Tempester Prime, basically I guess the equivalent of captain in the Astra Militarum, Whitlock orchestrated the strikes that crippled an Eldar warhorse at Telva Prime? Telva. I guess Telva Prime. Personally leading the assault against the Xenos Reach commander and slaying her while simultaneously deploying his Valkyries and Vendettas to cut off the warhorse line of retreat. The Imperial Guard won the resulting aerial duel via attrition, because that's the Imperial Guard way. Attrition. Oh, and remember the Frozen Comet? Acadian High Command just got wind that it had altered its course and was now heading straight for Sacred Isle. I told you, definitely was gonna do something about that. And now you might be wondering how. Well, 30 miles to the southeast of Secret Mountain, Morgoth had been hammering away at the rush ship Bad Gob to fashion the Claw of Mog, a device almost as high as a Stomper. When the Big Mac activated the device, it shot out a green light that grabbed the frozen comet and dragged it towards Alaric Prime. Castellanstein was presented with reports that the Orcs had built some kind of orbital tractor beam that was used to pull the frozen comet to slam it against the top of Sacred Mountain. While Stein held an emergency council to discuss what to do next, knowing that artillery was useless against the York's custom force fields and any frontal attack against the York rush ships and their huge guns would be suicide, Tempestus Prime Whitlock proposed a plan. I guess that's why we had the whole full background of him earlier, because he's now the main character for the next phase of the campaign. He and his Tempestus Scions will grab through the gap in the B field where it allowed the beam for the tractor cannon out. Apparently, because even though you have a custom force field surrounding the whole thing, you still need like a gap for the beam to come out of the field to grab the comet. Otherwise, the force field will be keeping it in somehow. Oh well, anyway, we don't know how Orc technology works, so there's a lot of assumptions being made by the Imperial High Command here. Anyway, Whitlock's men would destroy the force field generator from the inside. Once they took that out, they would aim for the tractor cannon next. Stein agreed. And so a few hours later, Whitlock's Valkyrie and 2 others flew across the plains to drop their squads on the York force field dome. All of them, except poor Oros, made it through the gap. Oros was vaporized by the tractor beam when he drifted too close to it, and then the rest of Whitlock's men landed safely. By the way, Whitlock just realized that maybe the Orcs didn't even know they needed a gap for the tractor beam to shoot outside. So yeah, but everything worked out in the end, right? So yeah. The Tempestus Scions slipped through the cantonment towards a tower, where a cluster of Orc guns that protected both the tractor beam and the force field generator that protected it. Whitlock and his men slaughtered the Orcs wing, taking them by surprise. Dargout, however, killed the Tempestus Scion because it's a named character and therefore has plot armor. I mean, seriously, the only named characters who have died so far are all humans. Lots of knights, lots of Cadians, but I haven't seen any named Orc die yet. So Grug doesn't count because he survived. I bet you that he survived. Anyway, Whitlock headshot an Orc top and directed his men to set satchel bombs in the top room of the tower, and then they blew up the generator. The moment the force field collapsed, Whitlock's Valkyrie reinforcements arrived. Dargok thus swung his smasher and wrecked a Valkyrie. Whitlock, realizing the danger, tried to take out the smasher guns, but Dargok and the Orcs were far too numerous and strong. Fortunately, Whitlock had a spare satchel charge somewhere, which he detonated to cover his Tempestus Scion's retreat. More men grav-shooted to his position, but mobs of Orcs were charging towards him. Towards them, I mean. It looked grim. Even as Whitlock braced himself for close combat, the sole surviving Valkyrie swooped in and took out the mob with heavy bolter fire. Another Valkyrie appeared out of nowhere to fall into formation with it as they flew away, and the rush ship blew up, along with the tractor beam. Yay! A rare win for the Imperial Guard and Knights after all the crushing defeats Morgrok heaped upon us recently. Man, I was sick and tired of the Imperial losing. Or Imperial Guard, because we are not Space Marines, so we are doomed to lose all the time. So that the Space Marines can save us. It's a bit annoying after a while, but yeah. Anyway, despite Whitlock's success in destroying the tractor beam, the frozen comet was still on course to hit the planet. Oh well. On the bright side, it was projected to fall into the sea north of the Sacred Isle. However, that didn't stop the Orcs from launching a massive attack on Sacred Mountain, and this would be the final battle. Castellan Stein watched from his command Chimera as he drove towards the center of the Sacred Isle, spotting teeming Orc cohorts converging to join this grand battle that would break Alaric Prime once and for all. Even though for every Imperial Guardsman who had died, 100 Orcs had been cut down and the Cadians were mathematically victorious, there were far too many Orcs, billions in fact, and it was still not enough. Stein also realized that there was an Orc with a brain coordinating the whole thing. While he pondered, he scanned readings that showed that something inside the mountain's depths crackled with an insane amount of potential energy. And then he remembered that the Alaric nobles, that's a strange word, had insisted that Sacred Mountain be defended, that Sacred Mountain should be defended to the last, despite not having any convincing reason why. Stein's astropath zeal also sensed something from the mountain, which was why Stein took them seriously, otherwise he wouldn't have bothered. Lord Nehru of House Degalio had also dispatched a task force of the knights to the mountain's easternmost gouge. That's a strange word, but yeah, gouge basically means, like a creek, a canyon or something. Nehru himself was watching his consort, or basically his wife. They like all these formal highlighting stuff. Accompany Garantius as she offered up one of House Dagalio's greater keys to the secret gate. The secret gate opened and both Lady Dagalio and Garantius entered the palace. A few hours later, while Lord Nehru continued to watch over the great open gate in his throne mechanicum inside the White Warden, the earth shook. Sacred Mountain was waking. Stein and his Imperial Guard armored columns also came to a halt, watching the shaking mountain in awe. They watched as Sacred Mountain transformed into a giant stronghold that dwarfed even the famous Cadian cars. Well, because Cadia is known for its cars. This was what Garantius had been guarding, and what Dagelios, their fancy names just are annoying to pronounce. Dagelios' heirloom keys had unlocked. This was why the knightly houses were so protective of it. Astropath Zilk called it Fortress Alaric. It has nothing to do with the Grey Knight from Band Counter series, by the way. Stein quickly assigned his men to the various battlements and redoubts ringing the mountain sides and set up his 10 companies across a giant drawbridge that had emerged on the eastern side of the vast fortress. The Baneblade, Iron Atine, and the Shadow Sword, still Cyclops, took up position on either side of the gap. The knights of House Velimestrian, Terran, and Kamata paced back and forth at the mouth of the breach. Artillery companies were in position, and the Cadians received unexpected reinforcements from Alaric's criminal elements. The frozen comet, though thrown off course to crash into the ocean north of Sacred Isle instead of the mainland, provided some light. Unfortunately, this was causing poor astropath Zell to have nightmarish psychic visions, which we will see manifest later in the Hour of Wolf. The hour of the Wolf. Blech. Countless millions of orcs converged upon Fortress Alaric, directed by the cunning of Morgrok. A great horde of orc walkers led the assault, with the gun guards striding at their heart. Its missing head was replaced by a task cap of a battle wagon as escorted by 2 captured Imperial Knights. The moment the Orcs came into range, Stein signaled his master ordnance to commence bombardment. Unfortunately, the shells slowed and stopped, hanging in the air. The Orc walkers were generating an electromagnetic field that nullified their artillery, robbing the Cadians of their long-range advantage. The Orc vanguard continued forward, and once they were within less cannon range, the Cadians shot the largest clusters of artillery shells hovering high above the Orc walkers, triggering chains of explosions that took out pockets of Orc vehicles. But it wasn't enough. There were far too many Orcs. Stein then ordered his Lehman Russ battle tanks to fire, but though they killed quite a few, many more shells detonated prematurely. Apparently, Morgrok had invented the Net Magnet. Yeah, that's quite a funny name. To nullify the artillery shells and tank fire of the Imperial Guard. Trucks, squeakers, walkers, looted vehicles all charged forward. Tank boss Braggrad also joined the fray, using the looted chimeras to cross the moat because they are amphibious. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the old rules of the chimeras, back in 7, 6, and I think 5th edition, chimeras had the amphibious rule which allowed them to, I think, cross rivers. Not that we actually had rivers in the tabletop, but basically they can cross, I guess, dangerous or difficult terrain without any difficulty, as long as those are aquatic, like rivers or ponds. So yeah, it was a rule back then. Yeah. And I think it was quite heavy, the fluff as well. If I'm not mistaken, Stephen Joe's Flesh and Iron, I believe that's the one, had amphibious chimeras riding through the river in that planet. Uh, but unfortunately, the Imperial Guard Regiment, that's the main characters of that story, were the Riverine Imperial Guard Regiment, and they use motorboats instead of chimeras. So you don't really see them that much. Anyway, hundreds of orcs swam across the moat to get to the fortress, and though hundreds succumbed, hundreds more made it across improvised scrap bridges. Mob after mob were gunned down by mass Taurox transports the Tempestus Scions had stationed along the inner bank of the boiling moat. Fortunately, the surviving knights counterattacked. Three spearheads of knights from House de Galeo and 4 knights from House Terran covered each other and stamped and blasted the Orcs back in the boiling waters of the moat. At the far end of the vast drawbridge, Stein's super heavy tanks and a scattered contingent of Imperial Knights fanned out to take on the Orcs from the plains, with the Scorched Knight being the first to reach them. Hiram, Patriarch of House Kamata, followed closely, only to be knocked off his feet by a Daka Jet, despite Stein's frantic warning. The Scorched Knight then turned around to murder Hiram, much to Stein's amazement. I spoke about this earlier when we were talking about Dairos Kamata. Meanwhile, Slivos Velamestrin's knight was knee-deep in orcs, for manually detonating charges against the weak spot of his knight. Despite his pleas for help, mirroring Lord Galamont Castron's last moments when he requested that his fellow nobles hold their fire, only for Slivos to seal his fate, none of the other knights helped him, simply watching as he was taken apart limb by limb. Thus does the ghost of Galamont Castron find his rest. Stein was obviously incensed, screaming that the knights were supposed to be defending the bridge, not settling O's cause. I don't blame him. But yeah, I'm a knight myself, so I kind of, we know the code of honor. So anyway, Lord Degelio the Seablade ignored him. He knew that they had to decapitate the leadership of the Orcs again to cut off the head of the beast in order to slay his body, and thus seek out Morgrok. Also, he was like, yeah, I know the Lord and Master of the Cadians is angry, and I don't blame him, but he knows nothing of our chivalric codes and our, codes of honor, and how we have to, the strange forces that govern the sacred mountain. So yeah, he was like, yeah, we have to settle our grudge because it's the night thing. You don't understand. While Nehru, Dagaleo, and his white warden led the knightly triumvirates, he had named the Alabaster Lancers, Garantius took the lead, storming through the Orc ranks. Dagaleo and the White Warden provided support, not wanting Garantius to fight alone. Nehru suspected that Garantius was heading for the mastermind coordinating the Orc assault, and he intended to be around for the kill. As they plunged further into the Orc horde, Dagaleo and the knights encountered the Mockonauts behind waves of Orc infantry. Dagaleo destroyed one. A second Mockonaut with a mech shooting some weird weapon at Garantius ended up having the green beam turned back upon him, pulling the mech and half a dozen crashing into some weird warp portal. While Nehru watched in fascination, Garantius ignored the mech's demise and strode on. Yeah, Garantius is just so cool. He's so awesome. Stein was still coordinating interceptor fire against Orc flyers and Deathcopters, having expanded all his Thunderbolt squadrons against the descending rush ships earlier. So only Whitlock and his men afforded any kind of air superiority because of their Valkyries and Vendettas. Worse, the gates that the Baneblade, Iron Athene, and the Shadow Sword Steel Cyclops were guarding had been blown open by Orc artillery and mud walkers, but swarms of Servo Scouts swam out to claw and shoot less biters into the Orcs on the drawbridge. I don't think they did much damage though. On the slopes, the Bullgreens had blocked the breaches with their slap shields, repelling any orc assault. Unfortunately, Flamer Boys burned them, causing them to rush forward and attack, only for the other orcs to run around the Bullgreens and charge into defense lines behind. Even so, the Xenos were caught in disciplined overlapping fields of fire and exterminated. Unfortunately, Stein's strategy fell to ruin where he saw one of the rush ships take off and fly towards the frozen comet to intercept it. Despite Tempestus Prime Whitlock diverting his Valkyries and Ventattas to intercept, they couldn't damage the massive hulk, despite shooting lots of less cannons at it. Before they could reach the rush ship, the unexploded ordnance captured by the Greenskin Macphail suddenly shot up into the air and took out all of them in a series of explosions. Ouch. With that last hope of stopping the rush ship gone, it collided against the inbound comet and blew apart, but with enough force to divert it back right towards the armored flank of Fortress Alaric. Initially, Stein ordered for his regiments to get inside the mountains and raise whatever shields they could or retreat, but he realized there was no way his men could survive the meteoric impact of the comet. Even the knights would be obliterated. So Stein snapped and then cancelled his orders. He bellowed for everyone to attack with full force, believing that since they were already dead, they might as well kill as many Xenos as they could before they died. 10,000 Cadians charged over their defensive positions at the Orcs, firing less bolts and stabbing with bayonets. Meanwhile, the 2,000 or so remaining knights raced to form a half-mile ring around the thickest of Stein's forces. In contrast, the Orcs were erecting force pylons, presumably to protect themselves as the fortress was flattened. Stein himself rode his command chimera to the front lines to fight alongside his men with his power sword. Leaping right into the middle of Orc commandos, he used both his power sword and plasma pistol to slaughter them, because we need the heroic last stand. Then the comet struck home. Every man, orc and machine outside the edges of a power field was instantly disintegrated. A whole flank of Sacred Mountain was torn away, crumbling down into the boiling moat to leave the honeycomb innards of the Great Peak exposed in the air. Roaring triumphantly, the surviving orcs poured forward. Sacred Mountain had fallen. Well, sucks to Forest Imperial. Oh man. Oh, by the way, Grog survived. When several orc knobs and a herd of Gretchen teleported into the mountain's southern slopes to salvage Grog's battle wagon, the warlord's power claw erupted to grab one of them by the throat. The Mad Boy hurried forward to secure Grog and teleport him and the whole group out of there. So I told you Grog survived. There's no way they'll kill off a war boss like him. He will be back. Meanwhile, Stein and his command squad, including Astropath Zil, had survived, aside from his unfortunate Vox officer. The Alarican Knights had united their iron shields in a great Aegis dome that shielded hundreds of Cadians from death by incineration at the moment of impact. It did burn out many of the Knights' number, several of the machines now pillars of flame. However, millions of fighting men and women had also perished alongside Alaric Prime's valiant nobles, and even the mountain itself was grievously wounded. Many of the York tribes had erected their own shields that protected them from the impact of the comet, and thousands of them remained charging unimpeded into the resulting breach. Stein felt like he had died inside, despite having survived the blow. However, Zil coughed and pointed at the skies. Stein looked up and spotted more meteorites that appeared to be the final blow. Then, the flame of hope sparked in his chest once more. They were the contrails of Imperial drop pods. As a bonus, here's several formations from the book, including the legendary Steel Host, the Rampart Detachment, and the Adamantine Lance. I might as well go through them, so yeah. As you can see, the Adamantine Lance basically consists of 3 Knights Paladin or Aaron in any combination without any restrictions. The special rules means that if they are within 3 inches of another knight from this formation, knights from this formation can reroll field saves for their iron shields. Furthermore, as long as they begin the sword phase within 3 inches of another knight from this formation, knights from this formation can reroll their charge distances and inflict D3 Hammer of Wrath hits when they charge instead of 1. Then you have my favorite Steel Host. Well, it's not my favorite, but but it's still a pretty cool formation. Back then in 2014, before it at Monka and all that. So anyway, the formation consists of 1 tank commander, 3 Leman Rush squadrons, and 1 Hydra, without any restrictions. The elite tank crew's special rules means that the tank commander and all vehicles from this formation within 12 inches of the tank commander have the preferred enemy rule. In other words, you can run Leman Rush executioner tanks with this and reroll all the Gets Hot rolls, or you are running like Punishers or Exterminators, basically does non-blast weapons, you can reroll hit rolls of once. So that's what preferred enemy was back then. It's pretty awesome. And then you have the Rampart Detachment. So basically, one platoon command squad and two blue green squads. Each blue green squad must include at least 5 models. That's a restriction, so you can't have 3. You have special attack, counter attack, fear, and fearless. What does that do? I have no idea. I know fearless means you automatically pass on morale. So yeah, that's what fearless is. Fear, I think, is you basically cost penalty to the enemy units morale or something. So they have to take a morale toss or something or whatever. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I yeah, I have no idea what counter attack does either. But anyway, what you're taking them for is for friendly infantry units who are partially obscured by models from this formation, they get an additional +1 to their cover save. So you can really make your Imperial Guard kind of obnoxious by hiding them all behind your blue greens, and then they get like what 4 3 up cover saves. It was fun times. So anyway, speaking of which, I think yeah, man, I kind of feel nostalgic for those days. I still remember playing the Adamantine Lance, maybe the Steelhorse. I can tell you the Adamantine Lance is very impractical because there's no reason for you to ever keep your knights within 3 inches of each other. That's like 3/4 of your army tied up standing next to each other for rerollable iron shield saves on only a single facing. Because at back then, you don't have a all-round ion shield save. You have to choose which side, the front, the side, left, the right, and the rear, for your ion shield save. Not only that, because they are bunched up together, they have to stay within 3 inches of each other. You can't really score any objectives except maybe one because 3 of them have to be quite kind of close to each other. I mean, I think I just fielded my knight army and said the 3 of them were adamantine lance, and but the moment the 7th edition codex dropped a month after I bought them, I had better formations, so I never bothered with the adamantine lines again. Maybe I didn't use the steel horse because I never got a Hydra. I had like Skitarii back then, and I think the Onagon Dunecaller is much better for anti-air anyway. But I did end up building an armored company from the Monka campaign book maybe a few years later. Uh, actually, I don't think it was a few years later. I think it was like 2015, the end of yeah. I think it was actually 2015, so it's a year later. Whatever. Anyway, that's a video for another day. I mean. But for now, I'll try to finish the Sanctus Reach series. There's still Stormclaw and Hour of the Wolf left, but no guarantees. Do look forward to them though, until such a time. Okay, now I should stop ripping off Oculus Imperia. But yeah, till then,